Hi guys, welcome to Tech Talk with Lee. I'm your host Lee. We're going to be talking about iOS 14. Now I've been using it for a couple of weeks now. The public beta has been out for about 2 weeks. And I've got some thoughts on what I think is good and what I think needs to be fixed up. Let's get into it. Okay, so I've got iOS loaded on my trusty iPhone 11 Pro Max. Let's bring up the screen here. There we go. Right. So at first glance, iOS 14 doesn't look any different, or really that different than the last 13 versions of iOS, or at least since iOS 7 came out. So you're probably wondering what's the deal with it? What are the big changes? So I've actually got a list here. We can kind of run through them, and I'll give you my thoughts on what I think is good and bad. So first off, getting into to widgets. Widgets are the kind of the big feature that everyone's been talking about. So all we've seen so far are Apple's versions of widgets, which are beautifully done. There may be there's a few major things that I think that might actually hold the widget use back, depending on what you use and what your preconceived notion is of widgets. So how do we get in there? So we're going to hold down on our screen. Now, you'll see on the video there how quickly Jiggle Mode, which is what Apple calls it now, we can get into it. So it's really quick. But you'll see as we go in here, top left, we've got a plus button there. So this gets us into the widgets that are available. Now, you're going to get widgets for third parties once iOS 14 is released to the general public. They're working furiously on it at the moment. But at the moment, we're stuck with the Apple widgets, which are, like I said, are very nice. If we have a look at some here, say fitness widget, we can add that in there. You can see it pops up there. We can add another one. Let's go battery widget. Okay, we can add one there. Now, as we go to add a widget, you'll actually see, say news. We've got a couple of different size options here. So news one is a little bit different than others because there's a few options there available. So you get information from today. So we've got today, and then we've got a specific topic that you can use on the widget. So say tech might be one that you want to just see a widget of tech info. Otherwise, today just kind of brings your for you top headlines in. Okay, so if we go on that topic there, we can click on add widget and it throws it in there. Getting rid of them is just as easy. You can just hit that corner and it goes. If you want to see another size here, so we went that widget there, you can see it sort of loads up as we go. So once we're done, we can just hit done, and it's going to push just like Android. It's going to adjust your widget, the rest of your icons and folders to push them out of the way, essentially. So if we move them around, it'll sort of just do what it has to do to make it fit, which is fine. Great, they look nice. They're nice and professional. They're beautifully designed. Here's the problem that I have with them. Okay, there's two really important things here. Now, we haven't seen third-party widgets come out yet, and we don't really know what they're going to look like or what they're going to have on them. Okay, so the way the widgets work is the same way that it works as complications on your watch. So that's a little bit different than how Android works. Okay, so an Android widget, you could have, say, for example, a Spotify widget, which would have your current album playing, how you can scrub along the track, you can jump forward. I don't think you can scrub, but you can certainly jump backwards and forwards between tracks, pause the audio, that type of thing. Same with Sonos, those etc. You can't, or you won't, it seems, be able to do that with the Apple widgets. Now, the reason being is they've gone for a widget that pays special attention to battery life. Now, that's good and bad, okay? It's good in the fact that they care about battery life, but they've always been pretty good, especially with, say, the last generation of phones. Pretty good the last few years of battery life. That haven't really had any issues. The OS seems to do a pretty good job of throttling apps that are running in the background and that need to be killed. The problem is something like a widget is kind of just a quick glimpse of information. Well, it's what it should be. It works fine, I guess, with news stories. But what happens is, in order to cut down the battery life, the widget update is only called for several times a day. Okay, so that's why it won't work with an audio program. It seems that an obvious one would be to say have Apple Music. If we have a look here and look at the Apple Music widget, we're going to add it in here. Even if we go for a large one, and it literally has recently played music. I've got nothing in there at the moment. But there's no controls here. I want controls. Apple, I want, that's what I think a widget should be. Okay, if I've got a to-do list widget, okay, I love my to-do lists. If I've got a to-do list widget, I really want to have control over the ability to add a new task. Now, something like an add a new task probably will still work. Okay, so if we scroll over to the left here, our traditional widgets are still available. Okay, so we can actually get in there and use our traditional widgets that we have on iOS 13. The ability to have hit points, touch points will take you into the app. That should work. That should work without problems, as it does on the Apple Watch. But the problem is they just won't work in the way that I think most people will expect them to work. And that's where the problem is, I think. That's where we're going to either get people that just don't use them because they don't update enough, or people just, as it loads, like I showed you at the beginning of the video, if I clear all these widgets out, you upgrade to iOS 14, it's going to look like that. So there will literally be no obvious way for you to throw widgets in unless you're being showed how to do it. So that could happen. Apple could easily come up with videos and little intro help dialog boxes in how to do that. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But the point is, the iOS is getting pretty complicated, but in some ways not complicated enough. We'll see. The other thing to do with widgets is that I can't put them wherever I want. Okay, let me show you. So I'm going to put in I don't know what one you haven't seen yet. It's a podcast widget. Okay, add widget. So it's going to plonk it there. Now I can put that over here. I can put it, follow the grid. Nothing wrong with following the grid pattern. I think that's quite a clever way to do it. But, so I want to have it down here. No dice. Not going to let me. I can have it up here. I can have it up here. But I want to have it down here. No, not going to happen. That's, to me, is a pretty annoying decision they've made on how this should work. Now, people that have used this in the past, they are not going to have any issues and how this works, because it will literally go to the top left of the screen. Interesting. I think that's going to stifle people utilizing it. They're already used to this. It's not going to change. Most people probably won't even use widgets. Anyway, that's my thoughts on widgets in iOS. Okay, so that's one gripe I've got. Again, it's a good step forward for Apple, but just give it to us. Give us everything we need. To be honest, I don't use widgets all that much on Android. Maybe for, like I said, music, and a couple of apps that I need to get to quickly. So maybe it's not so bad. Maybe it's okay. We'll have to wait and see. When third-party apps come out with them, and the range of options that we can how we can use them is going to be what sets it apart from Android. At the moment, Android, they may not have the fit and finish that iOS has, but there's two things. We haven't seen what third parties are bringing to the table, and what was the other thing? Oh, yeah. We haven't seen what third parties bring to the table, and we just don't know how they're going to utilize the widget APIs with what they've been given. Who knows? It might not be that great, or it might be amazing, or it might be a combination of the two. The problem with iOS sometimes, and this is a frustrating thing, is that we won't really see any adjustments to this for another year once it's open, or once it's released. So say it's September, October, we're not going to see any updates to how the widgets work for one whole year. Doesn't matter how good or bad it is, that's just how it's going to work. That's frustrating. I find that that's annoying. Google have done a great job at separating core components of the OS out to apps. So there's a camera app that they can update independently. There's a audio section of their OS that they can update independently. That's all I'm saying. Is that it would have been really nice to have widgets been implemented in a way that was a bit more useful. The moment we're kind of pushing, and I'll show you what I did earlier. I essentially had, let's just say that one here. You can add that there, and then add another one. I've wanted to have my apps on the bottom row like this, so they're easy to get to. That's probably the most useful part of how the API will work, how the app will work. Widgets. So I can actually have easy thumb access to my apps without having to reach up. Even if it does that, that's not too bad. All right, what else is there? There's a big change to how the apps are stored. Okay, so if we scroll back and forth towards two screens we've got here, if we scroll a third time, we get what's known as the app library. This has got its own pros and cons too. It's a pro in that I don't have to have all my apps sitting on pages and pages of home screens. But then the way they've implemented it, rather than just a simple alphabetical order, which they actually do if you scroll across and then swipe down, there's our alphabetical order. That's all I wanted to really see. Just a really easy way to get to my list of apps. Instead, they've gone for this categorization system. The top two categories change. They adjust, use AI to show what was recently installed and then what apps you use frequently. Apple's never been great at that, so I'm not too sure. Then we get automated categories from there onwards. These are apps that a lot of them are okay, but say, for example, they've put my FaceTime icon in social and I would never put it in there. in references and reading, they've got the weather app. Weird. And I've got a feeling it's bringing categories in from how it's saved in the App Store, which might be its own problem, perhaps. I don't know. Anyway, weird. It's a weird implementation. Not quite sure why they've done that way. Just all we wanted was a list. A list like you've got. That would have been fine, Apple. Sometimes you can over-engineer stuff. So the idea of it is fine. I think it's fine. It is easier on Android, on the Pixel phone, to swipe up. They swipe up from the bottom, just a swipe up in the middle of the screen from any screen, and you get essentially a view similar to that. A big list of icons in alphabetical order. If I had multiple pages here, say I had 5 pages, and I had to scroll the way across to get to the app library, kind of weird and annoying. One more thing to show you on here. If you go into Jiggle Mode, you can hit the circles at the bottom, and you can adjust pages here. So we can actually turn off an entire page. Okay, so they're actually there. It's actually there still. So if I just go back into Jiggle Mode, I can just turn it back on. So, weird. One thing they have done pretty cool with the widgets here is they've introduced stacks. So stacks kind of stacked widgets, so they're kind of on its own little thing, and you can make your own. So if we go to add a new one, and we want, say, battery, right, we can go add. I can actually drag this over an existing widget and make my own stack. Woot, woot, woot. There we go. Cool. Interesting. That's not bad. And then you can adjust the order of it, and you can say, okay, well, can you do a smart rotate? Again, uses that AI stuff. Don't know. We'll see what happens there. They're kind of the big deals that we've got with iOS. There's a whole heap of little things everywhere. I'm going through their list here on the website. When you get a phone call, you've got compact UI that just drops down. Same with our good friend Siri. Oh, just pops up at the bottom. Hi, Siri.
Hello.
There you go. So rather than taking up the whole screen, does a similar thing for phone calls coming through in FaceTime, rather than taking up the whole screen. So that's good. Something that probably should have happened 100 years ago. Something I don't really want to show you. If we go maybe YouTube. There. I'm not sure if this will work for us here. So if I just search for my channel here, Handsome Devil, there we go. Okay, so if I go here, okay, it's going to start playing the video. No, not going to work. So there's actually picture in picture. Doesn't actually happen for that. It happens for so it happens for okay, it happens in Plex. Okay, so if we just get Plex kicked off. Nope. It doesn't happen in Plex. There it is there. Okay, we've got a little. No. Bad demo. Anyway, it does happen. It does work. I've seen it. Come down. Maybe it depends on the show you're watching. Don't know. Anyway, it works. I've seen it work. Worked quite well. iOS beta 2, it worked. So maybe they've got issues with it. So there's that. That's pretty cool. You can resize that picture-in-picture, so it's a tiny little widget on there as well. Basically, it works similar to how the iPad picture-in-picture worked. Same sort of idea, except it's on the iPhone, which is good. There's some cool stuff to messages, but I'm having issues with messages in iOS 14 beta 3. There's some adjustments to maps. It's a lot of little things here and there. It's pretty stable. I've had some odd things with the iCloud that have been playing up. So I don't know if it wasn't with the first beta, public beta. So go figure. Don't know. Apparently there's some adjustments to Safari. We've got some AirPod stuff, app clips. We haven't seen those yet. So that's a little downloadable and runnable version of of an app that you don't have to install, that will run. It does some basic APIs like accessing Apple Pay, the sign in with Apple, that type of thing. So you can quickly use, say, for example, parking meter or buying something on any vending machine without installing the app. Excuse me, which is cool. The privacy stuff's interesting. Okay, so let's say we record. Voice. I'm sure it's called voice. Okay, so continue. We're going to hit record. You'll see at the top of the screen, kind of there, next to little orange dot, you'll see in the screen. That means that audio is recording. Now you get a video. If you're doing video, it will give you the same thing, but it's a green one. Allow. Continue. Okay, so you can see there's a green dot now in the top there. There's some apps that have been getting into trouble for misrepresenting the APIs or not using them correctly. So that's good. Again, there's a lot of other little stuff here. Android and iOS have reached a level of maturity where it's just going to be little things here and there. They're really close at this point in time, and it really depends. Do you want to go for the custom side, which is Android? And when I say custom, I don't mean to run custom ROMs and everything on there. You can, absolutely you can, but I mean, I want to change the font. I want to put stuff where I want on the screen without have my hand held. Android's still the one to go to. I want to have a completely different look of my phone screen. Android's the way to go for that. I want a really simple, elegant looking interface. Absolutely Android. If I want security and I'm married to iMessage, iOS is the way to go. I've had that many problems with the iMessage. I'm ready to drop kick it into next week with the upgrade, but that's what people use, and if you've got elderly parents, grandparents that use FaceTime and that's all they know how to use, iOS might be the way to go. But they're really close now. They're very close. I haven't used the beta of Android 11 yet, but again, it's little incremental things. just polishing little tweaks here and there. That's all they're really doing. One thing I will show you is Apple Music. Okay, so they've gone for this. It's kind of starting to look really similar to another streaming service called Spotify. Okay, so they've got this Listen Now, which is quite, starting to look like Spotify. Where it's really looking like Spotify is if you go to search, these categories here. Wow, let's just get copy straight off Spotify, will we? And then, it kind of goes into some different playlists and stuff. Then you should go into each one. It's a bit more Apple Music, depending on what you're looking at. But look, it's okay. I've actually found the personal radio station, so Lee Stoker's radio, is giving me better and more varied music than Spotify is at the moment, which is strange. Spotify always used to be the leader in that. But I'm quite liking Apple Music. It's doing a pretty good job on there. Anyway, that's my thoughts on iOS 14. Have you used it? Have you used iOS 14? Let me know what you think. I have got a sneaking suspicion where we kind of had that peak at public beta 2, and we're going into we're starting to tweak things a bit more in public beta 3, and the wheels are falling off a little bit. So hopefully they can regain what they've lost in the later betas. We'll have to wait and see. But it's the way it works, the way the software works. I wouldn't suggest using it as your only phone. If you've only got one phone, don't install it. It's not stable enough for that. I haven't had any problems with apps. It's really the Apple side, iCloud and syncing, that's been the problem. So your mileage may vary. Anyway, that's all we have time for today in this video. Please comment down below. Let me know what you think of the new iOS beta. What are you excited about? Are you bored with it? Are you ready to switch over to Android? Let me know what you think. Of course, like and subscribe if you want to see more of these great videos. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.